What's up, good people? We're back with the Contractor Secrets podcast. Got my good buddy, Austin Houser, Base Coat Marketing. Special episode today. Going through a presentation, really helping you guys lock it in for 2025. He will be one of our premier Liftoff 2025 speakers. So if you have not already signed up for Liftoff 2025, it's January 7th and 8th. It's live. It's on Zoom. It's free. So check it out at liftoff2025.com. Austin, welcome, my man.
Tanner, as always, thanks for having me here, brother.
Of course, man. Of course. What do we got today, man? Killing seasonality. I'm excited.
Yeah. So look, I know I flew down to Orlando, I think it was back in May, and we did a presentation similar to this. This is kind of like the revised 2.0 version.
Love it.
So first, Tanner, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to your listeners and impart whatever value I can here.
They're in good hands, man. I'm not worried about it.
I appreciate you, dude. So for those who are listening in and who have not heard my voice before, just to briefly introduce myself, my name is Austin. I'm a husband, father of 2 young men, and chief brainiac over here at Base Coat Marketing. If you haven't heard of Base Coat Marketing, we're a full service digital agency exclusive to residential and commercial painting contractors. We have over 16 years of experience, a team of 30. They're all rock stars, and we serve over 100 painting businesses throughout the United States and Canada today. It is my pleasure to bring all of our experience, our data, and strategy down to earth today. I'd like to spend the next maybe 30, 40 minutes going really deep into a topic that plagues this industry. And we're going to start conceptual, right? And then I'll get pretty tactical here as well. Now, look, I could spend 5 days going over all of these topics in detail. So I'm going to go quick and provide as much value as I can in a short period of time. So Tanner, let's start off with a really simple question. There are no right or wrong answers here, and I know I'm coming at you cold with this. So in your opinion, what is the greatest challenge the professional painting industry faces today?
I think that automation and technology are changing, and the way people are buying are changing. It's changing so fast, way too fast for the average painting contractor to keep up unless they make this their focus, which with most painting business owners, they're so deep into the trenches that, you know, they go and they work, they pop their head up, and all this new software is out, all this, you know, all these new terms are out, and it kind of just feels like a never ending chase. That to me is what I think the greatest challenge is.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I would kind of boil that all down to a simple word. And that's fear, right? Like the industry today, there's a lot of change. There's a lot of unknowns of what's going to happen tomorrow. But also this industry really comes down to it's either feast or famine, right? And as a result, we see a lot of business owners who are afraid. And I get it, like, you know, running a business, especially to your point, with a lot of automations and a lot of change, it can be terrifying at times, especially if you don't know things like when or where your next opportunity is going to come from or how they're going to expect to get in contact with you, right? And because the language we use is important, let's replace the word fear with uncertainty. In this industry, simply, it's plagued by the unknown, right? What if my phone doesn't ring this week? How am I going to pay the bills? What software am I going to need to use? How painful is this going to be? How long is it going to last, right? When you don't know the answer to a question, it can be extremely uncomfortable. It's like, you know, the feeling of getting your freedom ripped away. And it's because we're entrepreneurs. We're inherently problem solvers. And the unknown, it's an unsolvable problem. So let's use a quick analogy to make this more relatable. Tanner, you live in Florida. What's the worst hurricane that you've ever been through?
One that Irma was pretty bad. Like, that's one that I remember being like, that was crazy.
Yeah. Look, it's amazing how like the names of those storms are seared into our memory.
Yeah.
You know, like up here in North Carolina, we live along the coast. And for us, it was Florence back in 2018. My wife was 8 months pregnant at the time, and that thing was rolling in as a Cat 5, like direct hit. It was looking bad. Fortunately, it dropped down just before making landfall, but it still took several months to recover from that storm. And look, the bottom line is, unlike tornadoes, we can see hurricanes coming from a few days away. And from my experience living in this region, I'm sure you are going to have a similar experience here, Tanner. There are 2 main types of people who live in the path of these storms. The first type are people that buy all the groceries, they board up the windows, and they drain the fuel pumps, right? They're panic buying. They suck the local economy of resources right before a natural disaster strikes, right? This is called the scarcity mindset. And it's,
Been that guy once.
I mean, look, dude, I've been there too. Whenever I first moved down here, everybody's buying beer at the store. And I'm like, shouldn't I go fill up my tank?
I still
Right?
got water bottles from a few years ago, man. Haven't opened them yet.
I had to drain out a few of those a few months ago. I think they were sitting in my garage for a good 5 years. And look, I mean, this is all because they are uncertain of the outcome. So, we try to prepare for the worst, right? And because we don't have a plan, we're just trying to bring more certainty into our lives. At the last minute, it's that survivalist instinct, right? And then there's my neighbor, Vince. Vince has lived here a while, so he knows how this all works. And every time a hurricane is about to roll in, he casually packs up a suitcase with his wife, and they pick a random resort to stay at where it's sunny and warm. And he says the same thing every time he's packing up his truck. There was nothing in my house, insurance won't cover, and booking a resort at the last minute is almost free. And it's true. We actually compared receipts last time I decided to hang around, and he paid less to go get a suntan. And look, this is called the abundance mindset. They're bringing more certainty into their life, but instead of waiting in line at the gas pump, they're coming back with a sunburn, right? So today, I would like to talk about how we can all be more like my neighbor Vince and bring a little more certainty into our life. So instead of stressing about this time of the year, right now we're between the holidays, mid-December, I'd like you to come out in February with a suntan. We can all see this time of the year approaching. And while most of us batten down the hatches and hope for the best, I promise you there is a better way. And I personally know how powerful certainty is because it has changed the lives of those that I serve and the privilege that I have to lead over here at Base Coat Marketing. And this is why I'm so irrationally passionate, I would say borderline obsessed, about solving this problem for the industry. And to solve this problem, we're going to touch on 4 things today. So get ready to take some notes, everybody. We're going to develop a plan to be proactive. All right, we're going to leverage the market with that plan. We're going to diversify our lead volume, and we're going to measure the results to ensure that plan is working. This is all really simple stuff. So let's jump in. This should come as no surprise to anyone in the painting industry, but your work follows a seasonal curve. All right, for some of you, it's due to the weather, but for all of you, it's due to the fact that your services are a want, not a need. So consider this. If your HVAC unit breaks in the middle of July down in Florida, you're likely to call somebody at 8 a.m. on a Sunday, right? It gets hot down there. But if a soccer mom wants to repaint her kitchen cabinets, she needs to consider the budget, how long it's going to take, and whether her husband agrees, right? And that can be a hard sell. This is called buyer intent, and it varies throughout the year. Holidays typically have the most impact, but I think a lot of people fail to consider how much impact end of quarters can have on this industry. So for instance, if you're advertising online, big box stores, they dump a tremendous amount of capital into advertising at the end of Q3 and Q4. And this is a tax play for them, right? So if Walmart and Best Buy are dumping millions into advertising and there are a limited number of ad spots online, your cost of marketing as a local painting company will go up. And again, this is all predictable. We can see this storm coming, and it's what makes your business inconsistent throughout the year. So now you might be asking, how do we bring more certainty into an uncertain industry? And another way of asking this is, how do we make your business more predictable and more consistent? Well, we're going to create a plan. We're going to create a data-driven plan because we make decisions based on data, not feelings. And just to elaborate why a plan is so important in a seasonal industry like this, the market conditions we just discussed, you need to start planning for those about 2 to 3 months before they hit, right? And here's what I see a lot of. Most business owners in this industry, they plan to be busy, but few plan to be slow. So right now, again, we're mid-December. We're fielding roughly 5 to 10 phone calls a day to get marketing up and running before spring. Everybody knows they're going to get busy in the spring compared to right now. But come summer, June, July, August, our call volume drops by about 75%. This is proof that very few business owners in this industry plan to be slow. When you're busy, it's feasting time, right? You're full, you're hungry, you're fat, you're happy. But you're not thinking about the upcoming famine. And that storm, it rolls in quick. And again, we can see this stuff coming. So why don't more business owners plan for this? right? Like, can you imagine trying to build a house without a plan? Just going to figure it out as you go? Would you live in that house? Would you work in a building constructed without a plan? So no, so like, why are we running our business that way? Right? Like, to create a plan, we only need to ask ourselves two very simple questions. And that is, where are we today and where do we want to be in the future? And look, this will require an intimate understanding of your numbers. I'm going to give a shameless plug for Tanner here. Drip Jobs is great for this kind of stuff, right? Because you need to know things like your set rate, your close rate, and your average job size. And if you need assistance with any of this, first of all, Tanner has a great podcast that we're listening to right now. He covers a lot of that stuff. But we also just hosted a 2025 planning workshop with a few industry titans, including Tanner. And you can listen to that free replay online at basecoatmarketing.com/2025. If you're watching this, you can also scan the QR code on screen. Again, that's basecoatmarketing.com/2025. Now listen, a plan is great, but it's only helpful if we check in from time to time. It's like if you're hiking in the woods and you want to stay on track, you need to check that GPS from time to time, right? This helps give us the ability to see trends and predict the future. This is otherwise known as foresight, and it is a great way to make money. And to make this easy, we're going to get tactical now. I'd like everyone to take action. As long as you're not like listening to this podcast while you're driving, I'd like you to open up the calendar app on your phone and create a 1-hour recurring monthly event for the first Monday of each month. Just call it monthly business review session, something basic, right? And for this 1 hour, you're just going to answer one very simple question. Are we on track or are we off track? Answering this question allows us to be proactive. It allows us to see trends and take action before it's too late. And in our society, if our actions don't push us to grow, then you know what they say, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. And in terms of our business, how do we grow? We invest into things like marketing. And look, no, I'm not just saying that because I own a marketing agency. I'm saying that because success leaves clues. All right. And having a proactive marketing plan is the single greatest way to remain consistent throughout the year. The proof is in the pudding, guys. Show me a multi-7-figure painting business, and I'll show you their proactive marketing plan. For example, those of you advertising online, you can be proactive with your budget. Again, guys, this is all very simple stuff. But shifting your budgets between channels, such as social media, which is an interest-based marketing channel. So we're targeting people who might be interested or aware of your services. Compared to Google, which is an intent-based channel, they are further down the marketing funnel. They are shopping for a painter, right? They already know what they want. They just need to find the right guy. That's a great way to remain consistent. This is called variable budgets, and it works well because we're shifting your focus from buyer intent when the demand for your services is lowest to focusing on interest and awareness, which is always present in the market. I always like to say, people still use social media even on Christmas Day, right? They might just not be searching for your services on Google. This is simple supply and demand economics. When demand is low, but supply remains the same, your cost of marketing will go up. Now, the key is you must be proactive, right? You must shift these budgets a few weeks or even months before that seasonality starts to take hold. This provides you with the time, which is really important in the world of marketing, to train the algorithm before you need it. It's like training a dog not to pee in your house, right? We have to do the same thing with these algorithms. Now, this strategy works well, but it's only working well if you're planning to be slow, right? And again, planning to be busy is easy. Everybody's doing that right now. But we already established that most in the industry are great at this, which leads to one inevitable outcome, a slow winter, right? And depending on when you're listening to this, you may already be slow. And it's difficult to be proactive if that ship has already sailed. So how do we keep your crews busy when you're already slow, right? It's a basic question that I'm sure most of you are asking yourselves right now. And it's a very simple answer. We apply leverage. Business is great at applying leverage if you apply it right. And in this industry, we do that in a few very simple ways. The easiest way is to manufacture buyer intent, right? Remember, the services you offer as a painting contractor, they are a want, not a need. So how do we make somebody want something when they're not even thinking about it? You ask yourself a simple question. You need to answer a simple question, I should say. What's in it for me? When you truly break it down, your audience, they don't care about you. They don't care about your services. They don't care about your team. They only care about what you can offer them, right? It's a simple, shallow society that we live in today. But that's the truth of it all. This time of the year, mid-December, how many promotions do you see right now? Right, like we have Black Friday. It's like a whole week now, I guess. There's Cyber Monday. Every big box store has discounts and promotions taped to everything, right? You can go buy a big screen TV, 100 inches for like under $200 right now. It's insane. But why? They're creating urgency around an offer, right? They wouldn't do this if it didn't work. We're talking billions of dollars into research here. And look, your offer doesn't even need to be a promotion. A lot of guys are like, I don't want to discount my services. That's just, playing to the lowest bidder. But if you create urgency around that offer, the urgency takes hold. And
Absolutely.
Here's what an ad looks like that we're running right now for Nick Slavic. So 90% of this ad tells a story. We're tapping into authenticity and trust. Right? People don't buy from salespeople anymore. You need to just tell a story. But we're still creating an offer. And this simply reads, and again, there's urgency here. Here's the catch. Our schedule is filling up fast. Right? So again, we're creating urgency by tapping into that fear of missing out. Take the first step by clicking the link below. If you notice, we're not selling a new project here. We're just selling the next step. We're manufacturing intent. Finally, we'll send somebody local you can trust to provide a no obligation free quote for your next project. Right? We're establishing trust and authority, and we're tying that to an offer that has a limited supply. Right? This is marketing 101. It's very simple and it works. And look, we ran a subtle offer for Nick's ad because his reputation makes marketing pretty easy. But if you really want to ramp up demand, tie the offer to a promotion. Right? This is, again, this time of the year, promotions work great. During the spring and summer, there's no reason to run that kind of stuff. Just you need to evaluate that holistically, right? So a few strategies that work extremely well in this industry. Let's just review these real quick. So percentage off offers, think about like 10% off 5,000 or more, right? Monetary offers, 500 off 5,000 or more. I recommend split testing these offers in your market. Some markets aren't the best at math and the percentages may not resonate as well, where just the monetary offer holds more weight. But every market's a little different, right? Early bird promos are really powerful this time of the year. So we will run, book an estimate now, book a project in let's say January, February, and save 10% or whatever it is. Call out your warranties, guys. And I really like providing prospects with options. So under a good, better, best pricing model, go just Google good, better, best. It's amazing with the different options you can come up with to serve a menu to your prospects instead of just a price. And the last one I'd really like to hammer down on this, you can also capture more eyes by simply increasing your online reputation. Again, don't be afraid to incentivize reviews. It's extremely important. And this is what makes marketing for people like Nick Slavic so cheap and easy. The reputation stands on its own. And to assist you with this, I'd like to give everyone listening in access to our free review capture script.
Nice.
So this is what helps our clients capture reviews on roughly 90% of the jobs they complete. So it works extremely well. It's much better than the automations and tools that are out there for this. That obviously helps, but this is something very simple you can implement into a final project walkthrough. Simply go to basecoatmarketing.com/reputation to capture the script. It's extremely easy and it's free. All right, now look, there are multiple ways to leverage this industry. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. I'd like to spend a moment going through B2B and commercial work. You might be asking yourself, why commercial? We're talking about residential here, right? So commercial is important because it typically follows the opposite intent curve of the residential industry, right? So you may acquire RFPs or bid requests throughout the year, but most large projects aim to close everything before the end of Q4. So, before Q1. And this is because you're working with other businesses and they have tax obligations to fulfill, and it's in their best interest to close everything out at the end of the year, which is when you get slow. I know what you're thinking. Commercial work requires building relationships. How am I going to do that online? Well, relationships, they all start with an introduction. And remember, marketing is just selling the next step, or in this case, the first step. We do not want to ask someone to marry us on the first date. That would be weird. And there's been a great way to start a one-way conversation online. It's been around since 1971, and it's called an email.
I haven't seen that in a long time, dude.
Yeah, you got mail. Dude, every time I see
I
this
can
image,
hear it.
I just
Can you hear
immediately
it?
go back to the 90s and how great that time was.
Do you hear that thing in your ear?
I do, yeah, all the
You
time.
got mail.
So look, our goal here is just to simply reach decision makers, right? We just want to start that conversation. And this is where it gets even easier. We don't want to overcomplicate this. I think a lot of guys think of like email marketing, like I need to craft this fancy email with images and tie it to a link and all this other crap. No, we want this to be as simple and easy as possible, and that's by design. So here's an example of an email that we use to capture intent and create these type of opportunities. And again, if you notice, it's all text and it's extremely short. So for those of you listening in, this email reads, the subject line is, John, are your painters on time every time? It's a question mark. The body is, you work with painters, we work with GCs, we're professional, on time, and on budget every time. I would be happy to prove it. Talk soon, Austin. The signature just includes my business and phone number. That's it. No link to the website, nothing else. The goal here is to simply meet them when they're ready to talk. And this email works for two very important reasons. The first is it bypasses spam filters because there are no images, links, or sales-driven language. Those are all flags for a filter. And we can't talk to someone if we don't first reach their inbox. The second, in the world of email marketing, the subject line dictates what's called your open rate. It's a percentage based on how many people received your email versus how many people opened the email. And this is simply a leading indicator of success. And it's something we test heavily. Because this subject line works because we're poking at a customer pain point. Painters not arriving or not finishing on time may seem like a very basic issue, but it's prevalent in this industry. So like, guys, if you just do the bare minimum here, it doesn't take much to impress your audience. Now, in the world of email marketing, you need to think of this like brand awareness, right? You need to meet your prospects when they're ready to talk. So you can't just send this email out once. It needs to be done consistently. We recommend sending about once a month for 12 months. You're eventually going to meet them when their current crew drops the ball. And that's when you want to be the first person at the top of their mind. But for this to even work effectively, it requires something called volume. Remember that word, it's really important. It's what makes the world go round in the marketing world. And to send emails at scale, you need two things. The first, you need a quality contact list. I'd recommend services like Coldlytics or Apollo for this. You can pay a few $100s to acquire a few thousand quality contacts in your local market. Again, these can be decision makers. You can filter by business type. So if you want to go after real estate agents or GCs or property management companies, you can even filter in some cases by the type of roof they have if you want to do roof coatings, right? But the key here is the word quality. Your list needs to be a high quality list. You need 99% deliverability rates. It's extremely important. Now, the second thing you need is a good email delivery system. If you're trying to send emails at scale from your business domain or through a CRM, you will burn out that domain name. And this is where I see a lot of issues. Once your domain is blacklisted by an email service provider like Gmail or Outlook, you will be unable to send estimates or communicate with your customers or your team using that same email address. Just don't do it, right? In this case, I recommend services like Constant Contact or MailChimp. There's a lot of these programs out there. They're called ESPs, stands for Email Service Provider. Send from a subdomain or purchase a different domain altogether, specifically for this type of use. Now, look, again, email marketing is an entire ecosystem in and of itself. So for those of you interested in pursuing this strategy, we wrote an entire article about this, which includes the benchmark KPIs and the services we just discussed. You can access all of this by just simply going to basecoatmarketing.com/email. Again, that's basecoatmarketing.com/email. All right, so let's shift gears again. I know we're jumping around, but this is important stuff. We need to discuss diversification, right? So if you want to bring more consistency into an inconsistent seasonal business, you need to treat marketing like investing in the stock market, right? You do not want all of your eggs in one basket. That's why diversification in the stock market works so great. So we need to diversify how and where we are going to acquire new leads from. If more than 40% of your lead volume comes from one channel, you have what's called single channel risk. This is actually an investment banker term, and they use it to evaluate the valuation of companies based on how much risk your business inherits without diversification. So just as an example, if most of your business comes from Meta, let's say like Facebook and Instagram, it only takes one small algorithm change to crush the effectiveness of your new lead volume for the future. And they literally update their algorithm multiple times a day, every single day. So in my experience, it's not a matter of if that channel is going to eventually fail you, it's a matter of when. Because these channels, here's the really important thing to understand, they don't care about you or your business. They only care about what makes them more money. Google went through this shift about 2 years ago. We've slowly seen this over the last 2 years where they're pushing everybody to local services ads, right? So this industry used to acquire leads at $30 a lead on Google search. That is no longer the case, right? That's bound to happen on Meta at some point. They realize, hey, if Google can charge you $120 a lead on average, we can do the same. So be expecting that, guys. And look, to determine how much risk you have, ask yourself one simple question. If your main lead channel dropped by 90% next year, would your business survive? Now, look, fortunately, diversifying your marketing is relatively easy. For example, let's look at some of our options online here. If we look at a standard marketing funnel, there are two primary channels that bring in most of your business online. The first is going to be social media. It's what we call top of funnel marketing. And again, it's targeting interest. So on this channel, I like to say we're buying tomorrow's lead today. And then, we also have search, which Google currently dominates 90% of that market. AI, just a little side note here, is likely to correct that monopoly within this decade or so. I mean, ChatGPT, they already have ChatGPT search out. It's going to really shake things up. So to your point, Tanner, change is coming.
Change is coming.
Now look, this is what we call a bottom of funnel marketing channel, and it targets intent, right? So you're buying today's lead today. Now, the takeaway, you must be investing in both channels. And investments come in the form of two different ways. You can either invest money into ads or time into content creation. That's it. Those are the only two ways to make money online. Money into ads or time into content creation. So whatever your investment strategy is, just make sure you're investing in both channels. Again, you want to diversify. Now, diversification also happens between physical mediums. So offsite, think of things like EDDM, direct mail, door hangers, yard signs, vehicle wraps. These are all forms of marketing that help diversify your lead sources. We have a local painting company here in Wilmington, and they have an army of wrapped vehicles. They look great. And I've actually talked to the business owner before. He has trained his team to take the long way to appointments. So they intentionally drive through their target neighborhoods, even if it's completely out of the way, all in an effort to increase brand awareness. And it works extremely well. It drives down their cost of marketing significantly. And I see them everywhere, and I know exactly what they're doing. It's great. Now, look, I mentioned things like EDDM and direct mail, and I know there's a large percentage of the audience listening in who have tried these channels, and they have arrived at a concrete conclusion that they do not work. And this just means one thing: the strategy was not executed effectively. And I could probably say the same thing for any other channel that you've advertised on, and you say that it doesn't work for you. There's some market conditions that would justify that, but it's pretty unlikely. Now, I can confidently also say that most people have no idea how things like direct mail marketing actually works. Because yes, it does work, but it only works with the proper strategy, right? And so if we look at just basic KPIs and numbers, we recommend sending to no less than 20,000 households 2 to 4 times a year. Think of this as like a brand awareness campaign. It's not a once and done immediate return type of investment. That's just not how it works. So if you only have the budget to send to 10,000 households once, don't do it. Put that investment elsewhere. And regardless of what you put in front of your audience, again, just be sure that it includes an offer tied to urgency. Now look, again, a plan is great, but we still need to measure the effectiveness of that plan. We already discussed how to be proactive by setting those monthly review sessions. Extremely important, guys. Again, go do that right now. But it's critical that we understand which numbers actually move the needle. For instance, I like to say you cannot deposit a like or a click in the bank account, right? So if your marketing partner, your agency that you're working with, they're reporting numbers like clicks, impressions, or visits, go find a different marketing partner. They do not have your best interest in mind. And here's an example of what some of those metrics look like. So this is a client that we onboarded back in January of this year, so January 2024. We onboarded them at the middle of January. And we have a few different columns here. For those of you listening in, I'm just going to briefly run through what this looks like. The very top row is the total investment. This is what they've spent on all of their marketing between what they're paying us and all of their ad spend, right? The purple columns down here, these are all, it's the output. That's what we've generated based on those results. And the bottom is the results that they're actually getting. And what we really like to focus on is one main thing, and that's your cost of marketing. Everybody gets confused about ROI and cost of marketing and the big difference between those two. It's the same number, it's just measured two different ways. The reason we like cost of marketing is there's a bounded threshold. There's a target that we aim for. ROI, there's no top end. I could say, Tanner, I got you a 2000x ROI this month. What does that mean to you? Doesn't mean anything, right? But if I said, hey, our goal is to keep your cost of marketing under 10%, and we were at 2.3% this month, you're going to be pretty happy about that, right? So when we look at how marketing typically trends, it is an exponential curve. Month one, it doesn't seem like a lot's going on, but that's where most of the energy and effort's being applied. Month two, we see a little bit better. Month three is better. So if we look at this, again, this is a real world scenario here. Month one, this client spent $3,500 and generated $3,600 in return, right? So 96% cost of marketing. That's an expensive month. Month two in February, they spent $7,600 and generated $28,000 in return, 26% cost of marketing, trending well, but still high. Month three, they spent $9,000 and generated $57,000 in return. Again, 15% cost of marketing, still high, but trending well. Then April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, we're sub 10% cost of marketing. Most of that time, we were around 2.5% cost of marketing, right? Year to date, this is going back to the end of November, December 1st. They've spent $80,000 and generated $2 million in return, 1.9 if you look at the ROI. So that's a 3.9% cost of marketing year to date. This client is very happy. But again, guys, you need your agency to be reporting these numbers back to you, because at the end of the day, your cost of marketing is the only metric that actually matters to you and your business. Now, look, guys, I've just spent the last, 35 minutes or so talking at you about how to make your business less seasonal and particularly more consistent. So what I want you guys to keep in mind here is consistent income is the outcome. That is what we're aiming for. But now it's time to take action. So remember, I want everybody to remember this phrase: success favors action. You can know what to do, but not do what you know. I guarantee you, with 100% certainty, if you plan to be slow and you implement 10% of what we discussed here today, the things you're not already doing, that's the important part, it will bring more consistency into your life and your business. And look, I get out of bed for a few reasons each day, and none of them are to make money. It's in part why I haven't asked you for anything yet. But I'm going to ask you for something now. I want you all to take action. All right, so if you're listening in and something I said resonated with you, go implement it today. This is really simple stuff, guys. I want you guys to go to develop a proactive plan to leverage the market, diversify your marketing, and simply measure the results. And if you have questions or want to learn more about what we do here at Base Coat Marketing and if we might be able to help, first, you can book a call with our team at basecoatmarketing.com/call. We have a quick conversation to see if we'll be a good fit and just kind of making sure that we align with your growth goals. You can also follow Base Coat Marketing on all social channels. We pump out a ton of free content. We also have our Base Coat Brainiac podcast, which can be found at our website, basecoatmarketing.com/podcast. And you can also visit our free learning center. It's at basecoatmarketing.com/learn. I literally give away all of our SOPs and strategies, and it's all completely free. And finally, you're welcome to shoot me an email directly at austin@basecoatmarketing.com. I'm always here to add value however I can. Tanner, thank you again for allowing me to serve your audience today. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was an easy decision. I love a lot of what you said. I think the big takeaway for me is being proactive. And I think there's never one way that it's going to work, but sitting and doing nothing is obviously not going to produce anything. But really just being exposed to the ideas like seasonality is not, it's not death, you know, it's not. And I think what you're showing here is so valuable. Those of you that don't know Austin, I've known him for years. He's very integral in his dealings. Head over to basecoatmarketing.com, sit with his team, see if they can lift this off your shoulders. And, I think one thing that's important, man, is, and I try to hit this hard, especially on this podcast, but more importantly, just with people that I talk to, is you don't have the bandwidth to be a marketing agency as a business owner. You don't understand the speed of which things are changing. And I'm sure, Austin, you have meetings with your team about what the heck is going on in Google. You can easily get blindsided by the changes they make. You're probably not in the board meetings with the CEO of Google, right? So you're way ahead of the curve. And by the time that information gets to the average contractor, it's way too late. So get a teammate in your marketing. Austin, man, we're excited to have you at Liftoff 2025. Go to liftoff2025.com. Austin's going to be bringing more value along with 23 other speakers. I think that's a record. I don't know. Could be. But Austin, any last points, any final things you want to share?
No, man, I think you hit it on the head. Guys, just be proactive. Again, it's amazing how many business owners actually call us during the summer, but it's also amazing how many people don't. And
Yeah.
if you're busy in the months of June, July, and August, consider planning for the winter, right? Q3 and Q4 is when things really start to slow down. And if you are going to start planning for that, and I would actually argue right now in the month of December, you're planning to be busy. If you wait until February or March to really start implementing that, that ship has sailed. Guys, marketing takes time, right? Just be proactive. Your prospects, your clients, your team will all appreciate you.
Dig your well before you're thirsty. That's one of my favorite sayings. The worst time to do really any big change in your business is when you need to make the change. If you have no work right now, don't expect Austin to just wave a magic wand. Okay, it's just not the way it works. But what you should do is when you are thriving, when you're in a season of poise and growth, and you can make you're in a place to make a strategic decision. That's when you want to do it. You want to buy the dip. You don't you don't want to panic buy when the thing's skyrocketing, right? So there's so much there. Awesome, man. Always a wealth of information. Thanks for joining Contractor Secrets podcast. We'll catch you guys at Liftoff 2025, and get ready for some more value from Austin and his team.
Thanks, Tanner.